My name is Lucille Hadley, and it is truly an honor to stand before you this evening at this time to bring you greetings on behalf of the Polk State College. We'd like to have our esteemed and fearless leader, Dr. Eileen Holden, come forward.
Well, thank you so much for being here. First of all, to Ms. Miller, thank you so much for agreeing to visit with our students yesterday at Polk State College and with our community, and to our esteemed panelists, all of whom are great supporters of education and support Polk State College. And to our audience here, one of our goals at Polk State College is to elevate awareness, have the courageous conversations so that our community can address issues before anything escalates. And we're so happy that you showed up tonight to engage in this conversation. And I want to thank Ms. Hadley and Val Baker and everyone else responsible for this. Let's have a good conversation. What comes out of this conversation, we'll work with our students and our faculty and staff to continue the dialogue. So thank you and welcome, everyone.
I have to take a pause for what we would say, a commercial break. But all of the FAMU alumni that are currently present, would you stand? Any FAMU alumni? Radlers. I'm going to ask Mrs. Woodard if she would please come forward just for a special presentation to our esteemed guest, who is also a Radler. And I'm going to ask if Ms. Miller would come forward.
I would just like to welcome you to Polk County, and on behalf of the Florida A&M National Alumni Association, as well as Polk County chapter, our president is Ms. Doris Hicks, and I am on the executive board. I'm Betty Woodard. And since you have on that, I'm just going to pass that to you, because you can't stick anything in, and a little token gift here, and don't lose that money.
Oh, okay. I will not be losing that. Understood. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Did you get it? I will. Oh, one more. Got it. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will.
At this time, and we have 90 minutes because we also have another event at Lake Wales Arts Center that we want to encourage everyone to go down at 7:30 p.m. I'm going to ask Marissa Green, Director of Communications for the City of Auburndale, to come forward and introduce our panelists. I want to share with you, as Marissa comes forward, just the rules of engagement, how we're going to go through the Q&A, etc. And we have an esteemed group of panelists here who will be able to answer some questions, and you will be able to ask some questions. We are on a time schedule, so one of our students will have a flag that says time. When we say time, we need to cease the conversation so that we can move on to the next question, as well as allow different folk to share and ask questions, and not allow just me to monopolize all of the questions and answers, okay? Okay. Marissa.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to welcome all of you out to this forum. We really appreciate your participation, and we want you engaged this evening. For a couple of house cleaning issues, please make sure your cell phones are on vibrate. And if you're using social media this evening, please use the hashtag Brown, Black, and Blue on Facebook and Twitter. We want you to take plenty of pictures, and we want you to let those who aren't here with us this evening know what they're missing. So if you could do us that favor and use that hashtag, we'll greatly appreciate that. Now we're going to introduce our illustrious panel. We have with us this evening Davenport Police Chief Larry Holden, who is also this year's president of the Police Chief Association, representing 17 municipalities across the county. We have also Jeffrey Williams, a Polk County School District educator who has a nonprofit group called the Risk Club in Lakeland. Risk Club takes Black youth on college tours, provide mentoring opportunities, and ensure success among those challenged in the demographic. We have Frank O'Reilly, former school board member and chair, and former Lakeland mayor. We have with us this evening Brian Haas, assistant state attorney. Deldrick Leonard, pastor of Lake Alfred Church and guidance counselor at Jewett Middle Academy. County Commissioner Melony Bell, who also served on the Fort Meade City Commission. Winter Haven Vice Mayor Stephen Honeycutt, who is also retired from law enforcement. Jonathan Evans, City Manager of Haines City. Reggie Webb, Vice President of Student Services here at Polk State College. James Arnold, Polk State College Brother to Brother, Sister to Sister Club Coordinator. And finally, we have the Reverend Frank O'Harrell, Jr., Community Youth Advocate. Let's give our panelists a round of applause.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest moderator for the evening. Mitzi Miller is known as a best-selling author and award-winning journalist who became editor-in-chief of Ebony magazine in April 2014. Prior to that, Ms. Miller was editor-in-chief of Jet magazine, a position she held since May of 2011. Within 2 short years, her vision of revamping the iconic 62-year-old brand was realized with its first and only successful cover-to-cover redesign, new website launch, and improved social media presence. After majoring in English at the Florida A&M University, Miller began her career at Honey Magazine, where she grew from an intern to entertainment editor. She later became associate relationship editor at Jane Magazine and the editor-in-chief at Set Magazine. The New York native has co-authored 5 popular books over the past decade: The Vow, a novel, The Angry Black Woman's Guide to Life, and the 3 Little Hotlanta young adult series. For her professionalism and passion, Miller's recent accolades include recognition among the Root 100 honorees for 2013 and 2014 Florida A&M University's 125 outstanding alumni. She is currently on the board of directors for Jack and Jill of America Foundation, and she resides in Chicago, Illinois. Welcome, Ms. Miller.
Awesome.
I want to call you Bette Midler.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Any and every opportunity to get out of the cold. So I'm really excited about this conversation tonight. Brown, black, and blue. This is something that's kind of a topic that's been talked about all year for the past year, was in the headlines across the nation. So I'm hoping that we get a lot of good thoughts and ideas tossed around on how to make things better for everybody. Because this isn't just, a small Polk County issue. This is a big across-the-board issue. And as the elections come up, people need to be talking. So I'll start with the first question under the topic of community. And I guess you can just sort of raise your hand. That's how I'll know if you have an answer or something that you want to add to this question. We've learned, for those who had the pleasure of viewing it, we learned from the movie Selma that it takes all races to working together to achieve progress in the civil rights movement. What are some ways that those here tonight can work together to continue the movement in Polk County? Anyone want to start at the end?
Raising awareness and then taking that awareness and going out in the community and actualizing it, politicizing and socializing it, making it work in different communities through different agendas and objectives and organizations as well. Is my mic not working?
Yep, I can hear
It's
you.
working. So I would just like to congratulate us all coming out already.
Right.
We're starting the process by talking about it.
Right.
I'm with this gentleman that we're excited to be here. I'm honored that Marissa asked me to be here and to start the conversation. As being from Polk County, raised in a small town, being a female, and I think I'm the only female on this panel.
Right. Got to represent.
Got to represent, and to me, it's not been about the color of my skin or the female, male. You know, it's breaking through those barriers, working together as a community. And I'm just very fortunate to be able to say that I'm from a small community. And can I say that, you know, do we have diverse on every board? No, that's not happening.
Okay.
But eventually it will happen.
All right.
And
Great. Here?
One of the things that I think each and every one of us here have had an opportunity to persevere through certain obstacles. And so finding what those issues are or those opportunities and making the best of those opportunities allows for you to attain the higher level of education. Education is the great equalizer. Education breaks down barriers. Education allows for us all to be here in the room and having this conversation. But it doesn't just start here in the world, in the halls of academia. It starts at home. So certainly what we can do to get parents involved in their childhood education early and the value of community engagement, civic involvement is so critically important. I can just tell you from a city manager's perspective, when you look at 1,500 people out of 10,000 registered voters determine who serves on an elected seat, it's deplorable. So many people have given so much and have lost so much for the right to vote, and we do not participate in our communities to determine the trajectory of our communities, both now and in the future. So I think inciting the young folks, exciting the community about that your vote matters, your voice counts, but getting out there and going to a commission meeting, finding out what's going on in your community. Civic participation is going to allow for every young person, every race, religion, creed, sexual disposition, genetic disposition to be heard. You just have to be willing to get involved and put some sweat equity in.
Right. Thank you, Jonathan. And I think that that is a perfect segue into my next question. What can the individuals do in their everyday lives to improve race relations, in addition to being more proactive about education and getting involved? Does anyone else have anything?
We can get involved in our school system. Let me give you, in the last 7 months, we have had 1,500 African-American men and women in our schools to mentor our children or to talk to them. In contrast, we've had 18,000 white men and women who came into our schools. Now, let me tell you something right now. From day one, when I first started in 1980, we need men, African-American men and women, to be in our schools so that these young people can see the attorneys, the lawyers, the plumbers, the electricians, all of these men and women who are out there working every day, who are fathers and mothers. That's who should be in our schools, mentoring our children, telling them about what they do. What can we all do? We can get involved in our school system where our children are so that they can see African-American men and women who are up there, judges, lawyers, CPAs. That's who we want in the schools to see them.
Okay.
And that would help quite a bit.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
The first question, working together is what stood out to me. Working together. And I'm a firm believer that in order to work together, a relationship has to be formed. Right. And, you know, looking at things from looking at these questions, the two questions, and basically dissecting them to a point that where in order to form a relationship, you have to identify the barriers, you know, that are there, and there are social, economic barriers that are in place. And then those barriers has to be removed. And I think that one of the ways you remove them is that you encourage the education on getting our young black men, young black women involved in community events. Community events, encouraging them to come to economic community council meetings, city meetings, so that they'll know what's going on in, the community. And also implementing family-oriented services and pilot programs, because if you can get the family, you got the person. And I think that that's one of the major breakdown, in that dialogue, because of those barriers and, the family situation. And I think a good way here in the Winter Haven, greater Winter Haven area to reach families is through Heart for Winter Haven. I intern through them, and I think it's a good way to make race relations and make our community a better place.
So I'm going to go off script and just throw this question out to everyone on the panel. Is the education only needed for those in the African American community, or is there some education needed in all of the communities? Like, we need to educate other communities about what's happening with African Americans so that they can be more sensitive. Police Chief?
As far as law enforcement, because that's been a topic the last few months with race. Right. The main thing is, before we try to tackle the race in law enforcement issues, is we need to build relationships. Okay. I don't want to talk to you about crime or what's going on in your neighborhood. I want me and you to talk about how the day is. Right. Just non-pressured conversations to where we can start that foundation of a relationship and build trust. The issues, the tougher issues that will come up, like what are you going to do about crime in my neighborhood or something like that? That comes later once the foundation and the trust is built. So we have to go from here and not just leave it at here, but continue. Tomorrow, somebody come up and talk to me and just say, how you doing today? Right. We don't even have to talk about law enforcement. Can
you share with everyone what training, sensitivity training, or what you're doing to get these conversations started with between the officers and the members of the community?
We have a state-mandated human diversity class that all officers have to participate in.
Is it a one-time class? Or
every 4 years.
Okay.
It's been in place for years. But what a lot of agencies, not just in Polk County but across the state, have realized that you need more. That's not enough, an 8-hour class or whatever. Agencies have brought in outside speakers, and made more than an 8-hour commitment, a week commitment to talk about cultural diversity, cultural awareness, and these types of programs. And every agency is a little bit different. I haven't released it yet, but I'm going to start a community garden on my police department land.
That's wonderful.
Don't want to. We can come talk about how bad I grow flowers, but it's right. that bottom. It's just that basic communication to where we can, start getting that relationship and then tackle the big problems.
Okay, so then have African Americans and the African American community stereotype themselves by seeming like they're only passionate and vocal when it's around race relations and race issues, as opposed to, say, education or wealth or wellness issues. Do you feel like they've kind of boxed themselves in?
I think it's the perception that we get excited when it comes to race issues, but in terms of education, things we kind of silent on that. I think as minorities, blacks, Spanish, whatever, we got to go further than just jumping on race issues. There's issues in terms of job, employment, family issues, raising your family right. So we need to expand our conversation.
But I think that's where mutual education on both sides of the issue come. I do not believe that African Americans have stereotyped themselves. I was taught a long time ago that you talk about what hurts you, right, and you talk about what has affected you. And many individuals feel as if we can solve that issue first, then we can move on to the other issues. I tend to believe that we need to work on these things simultaneously. We can talk about economic issues while talking about the social issues, while talking about the political issues, and coming up with diverse ways to meet and reach those goals while preserving ourselves and preserving the mission.
Okay, great.
I agree. I can't say that the the African Americans are stereotyped themselves. I think that when you talk about passion, I think you can talk about people who are passionate about their football team. So I don't believe that they become passionate themselves. You know, I've been fortunate to be elected as an elected official here in the city of Winter Haven. I think that, you know, I had to define what my role was going to be. And when you talk about community, I think, and I go out into the public, it comes down to common unity. I think everybody wants to be a part of everything that's out there. And I think that we have to define our roles as individuals up here on this panel and what it is that we are going to achieve. Obviously, this conversation is a big part of what's going on. And also being able to reach out to the people here and let them know from early age, like I've done my kids all the way up to my grandkids, is that when you're born, you're an asset, not a liability. And they really have to understand that. And how do we reach out? Because you get so many times, and you're talking about going out to be able to reach the public. When you get into the politics part, there's more talk than results. And we look at the broken window effect, and it's very common what's been used in law enforcement terms. But I think, as you mentioned, across the United States, we're beyond that broken window effect. And I think the talk has been going on for a while. Now is the results. There's obviously economic impacts that we can talk about that deal with jobs. I mean, I see it every day in my kids. You know, they go and they fill out a job application. They don't hear anything back or whatever the case may be. Education, excuse me, is huge. You know, I'm not from Florida. I moved here in 2005. But I substituted in the system for a year. And to be honest with you, I was very disappointed on some of the things that took place. And I think we lose our kids into the education. So how do we fix that? And I don't know that at my level as a local official, yes, I can be a voice, but I can't do that. But I think being able to let the community, they want to know what it is that their involvement is. And I think as an elected official, you have to get out from behind that desk and spend time into that community, and you have to let them know that you're there to basically be that voice for them to go back and talk to them, because community defines itself as a common unity. What is the common unity for the city of Winter Haven, and how do we bring everybody to the table, not just one group versus the other group?
I think the common ground here is the importance of education in the community, but one of the things that I think we need to do a better job in the education system, I think what the President's comments were with respect to community college is important, but also, why do we allow 16-year-olds to be able to make a decision to drop out of school? Why don't we say, if you are going to drop out of school, let's get you into a diversionary program where you can become a plumber, electrician, some other skill or some other trade. Because if I was to take, and I've done this with many kids, if I draw a picture of a plumber, a banker, and a teacher, invariably they always think the banker makes more than the plumber. A good plumber can make more than a good city manager.
Right.
That's right.
All right. Well, that definitely got a response from the audience. And what we're going to do is I'm going to mix up the format a little bit so that I'm not the only one asking the questions. If you guys can have questions, you can raise your hand as we go along so that you can react to what they're saying immediately as opposed to waiting until the end. Okay? I'm going to change that up just so it'll go a little faster and people won't forget what they were thinking. I think that's great. And since we are circling back on education, I'm going to ask about STEM. For the educators on the panel, what are we doing to encourage students, minorities, to get into the STEM fields? Because that is an area that we're severely lacking in. There's a lot of money in that, but you know you have to start when they're young. So I'm curious to hear. Here?
Something that they're doing to increase minorities' participation in STEM is also adding the A to it, the arts, which makes it STEAM. So you have a lot of individuals from the African American community that are highly into the arts. So that's one way to attract them. But also with the different STEM programs, you have where it's a lot of hands-on activities, where they're doing robotics and all types of stuff where they're learning and doing more than they would do in a normal classroom and don't mind doing it because it's an actual hand-on opportunity. I teach at an alternative school, Bill Duncan. You have probably 90% ones and twos. They're at that school. You probably, out of the middle schoolers I work with, you have 125, 90% have possible retention on their report cards. But if I have something out there called a hydroponic garden, they'll go out there and they'll work, you know, all period long, and then I'm able to teach them the scientific method and everything like that, because they're taking a microscopic seed and putting it into coconut fiber and pine bark and then they're growing everything from collard greens to tomatoes to okra, everything from A to Z, and then they try to extrapolate from that experience and say, man, I should do this at home, and they see opportunities because the guy that helped them install it, he goes all over the world to utilize that, and of course they're going to ask about other stuff inappropriate about, using seeds and planting them. But you still have their attention and able to keep them captivated and to get them learning where they don't even think they're learning. And then it's also a skill that they can utilize in other, other communities.
Thank you. Anyone else have something to add specifically about the science and technology?
I'm presently working at Jewett Middle Academy here in Winter Haven, which is a magnet science technology program or school.
Also, to your mic.
Recently, the district just received about $11 million to enhance their STEM programs. Matter of fact, they put it in about 4 different schools around the county, and primarily what we call urban rural areas. Dundee Ridge Middle School, which I spent a number of years of my experience here in Polk County, they just became a STEM school because the minority population was the majority population within that school. And then with rezoning and things of that nature, now a lot of our young African Americans especially are being encouraged to take the higher level classes, the classes that actually help them to think outside of the box. One of the teachers at my school that I'm working with now, they actually have to come up with the idea. They're given certain prompts, but they have to put all of the pieces together. And that also helps them to work together to come to a common goal and to help one another to improve some type of situation or move some type of object through robotics and things of that nature. So within the African American community, it's actually helping.
Right, absolutely. This is for the audience. How many of you were aware of these programs? By a show of hands. Okay. So then by a show of hands, raise your hand if this is the first time that you're hearing about these programs and these opportunities? Okay. Is this the first time you're hearing about it too, or you want to? Okay.
We have, in the Polk County system, over 35 academies. I think a lot of you know about that. But for example, Tenor Rock has a working relationship with Lakeland Electric. And they come out and they teach all about what Lakeland Electric does, alignment and all the rest. And as you said, some of those jobs pay a lot more than a city manager or a banker. A lot more. They also have the Aviation Academy at Kathleen High School, where they can go out to Sun and Fun, to the airport. They wear uniforms, know all about airplanes, aeronautics, and all. They've got a law academy at George Jenkins that these young people can come in, know, and learn. They have a courthouse built right there by the attorneys in Polk County, built it. And all of these academies are there giving them opportunities. There's over 35. They have to be encouraged.
Okay.
But they're there, and for a child that's going through school, as some of you say, and looking at math or looking at reading and getting a little bit bored, these academies are a boost. These are academies. Gee, I like doing that. I like working with my hands. I like working with airplanes. I like the law end of it. And there's even, we have culinary. We also have dog grooming, where they can work on pets and learn how to be have their own business. So these things are out there, but what we have to do in the school system and parents, we have to encourage them to take part and to at least look at them and say, is this something I would like to do?
Okay. This is I have a question here. I'm sorry. Just speak up. Just speak up a little bit. We can
How
hear.
do you get transportation from Winter Haven to the Lakeland School or Lakewell to the
Okay.
school?
So it sounds like
it
sounds like there's a question about the transportation for people outside of Lakeland.
Well, I am not on the school board in this thing.
Okay. I think I was going to say mine does. Perfect. Thank you.
As a county commissioner, I've been very involved with education, and I give kudos to the past school board members that voted to go wall to wall in Polk County for career academies. And your question is, how do we get one student from point A to point B, but they're offering that throughout the whole county.
Right.
As I said, I'm from the south part of the county, and we have a pharmaceutical school there. Welldine has stepped up to the plate and has even given a teacher to teach that class. So these kids can go through 3 years of pharmacy school, graduate from high school making $45,000 a year. So they are transporting kids from Winter Haven and Lakeland to go to those schools, and our Fort Meade kids are going to Lakeland and Winter Haven to school. So there is transportation available.
Do you know where she could find the information? Is there a website that she could go to? Does anyone know
probably
website?
Through Polk County's schools.
School transportation. Yes.
Okay.
One of the things that we traditionally do a bad job on as far as government is telling the community the value and the different services we have. Certain people don't have, in today's environment, moms and dads work 2 or 3 jobs. So, and they have a child that may be exceeding all expectations in the classroom, but they don't know the first place to go get the application. Where can I go find that information? It's incumbent upon each and every one of us in the room to be those foot soldiers and help people find those resources and access that information, because I can tell you that we have an abundant amount of young people in our community that can go to any Florida university their heart desires, but their parents cannot fill out the application necessary to get the financial aid for them to go. And the biggest debt we have in this country is consumer debt for school loans. We need to make college affordable and accessible. That's the thing that we need to do. And I've always been told that if you follow the money, you can find out what people care about. It's time for our state legislature, it's time for our governor, it's time for the federal government to start investing in education and access to education, because it will help every minority, every individual in this community. And I don't know about, I think each and every one of them, I want Social Security to be around when I become able to retire.
Certainly. I think your point about making sure that the information is disseminated is probably the most important thing. I don't think there's anyone on this panel that doesn't understand the value of education. I think what it sounds like is people want to know where to go. And how are you all getting what you know out there? Because you knew about the school in your community and you know what they're doing, but how would she have known that? You see what I'm saying? So,
and I just wanted to add one more thing, that they are adding once a year, they're calling it a parent forum, where they're trying to go through the school to get the parents to attend the, what is it called? Where they're bringing them in and showboating the academies, and it's being held at
the Expo.
And it's being held at the Sun and Fun.
So definitely,
so through that and their website and Facebook, social media, they're trying to get the word out that as a parent, if you don't have a computer, how do you know if that note doesn't come home? So there's a disconnect there.
Absolutely.
And one of the things, really quick, if you don't mind, one of the things that we did talk about, and Deion Sanders has a great quote, and I think we need to get this out to our young people. If you dress good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. We need to dress the part. We need to dress the part when we show up for those interviews and those opportunities, because people judge us based on our attire and what we're wearing. So that's critically important as well.
Absolutely. I think the parents here, though, are at a little bit younger age. They're concerned with high school and middle school. So before they get to the interviews, they need the information so that they can be prepared. But let's bring it back to the community. What can the community do to build up better representation in politics?
You have a question.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
I think I might address that last question you posed also.
Oh, okay.
And a few other notices that I noticed as we've been going along. I just want to say thank you for being here this evening. Your presence really does make a difference. That's why a lot of us are here. I'm from the neighboring city, small town of Dundee. I'm the mayor there. So I know a lot of the people on the panel here. Earlier on, I just wanted to speak on relations. And if I could draw everybody's attention to when we have a local tragedy, a tragedy at a more national level, to see how we all come together. We forget about our status, our colors, our creed, our religion, and we come together and we work together to help each other during that tragedy. I think we ought to take something away from that and add it to our everyday life. Great. Now, the last question you posed, what can we do to encourage people to get closer to politics or more so community efforts? Like our manager here stated earlier on, we had to get involved in our local governments. Go to City Hall, go to the commission meetings, ask questions of your local officials. Let's fuse together to be as one, because we are all elected to serve you. So you should not alienate yourself. And in doing so, you get to see what we do and what you can do to help. Because without you getting involved, our efforts are fruitless. And also, as the manager alluded to, information. How does the parents get information when they are doing 2 and 3 jobs? They don't know how to fill out an application and so on. That's a major problem. Because today, if they are not computer literate, it's almost impossible. And also, most of them can't even afford a computer. But let me say this, go to your local library. That's a great source of information. They have computers that you are able to use for a number of things. But get involved, stay close to City Hall, stay close to your local services, and more so, stay close to your local officials. And thank you again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then let me ask this. What type of activities can the youth participate in specific? Did you want to answer the original question? Or do you your question. Okay, the youth question? Fantastic. What are some activities the youth can participate in to be involved in the political process?
I think that our community is so blessed to be diverse, but I think that our community as a whole would be so much benefited by a higher percentage of African American participation in our organizations, our government organizations. I think about law enforcement. My goodness, wouldn't it be so much nicer if we had more diversity in law enforcement? And I think that starts from our youth. I think it starts from the youth possibly thinking that one day they'd like to have a career in law enforcement. And that starts at a young age and working towards that. As a prosecutor, you know, I have to travel around the state to bring prosecutors back here to work in our county. Wouldn't it be great if some of the young people here today could someday serve as a prosecutor? There's no reason why they can't. And those people someday can be judges. Think about this. A few years ago, we lost a fantastic judge, Judge Carla Foreman Wright. She also was our only African American circuit judge. Judge Kuhn also retired recently. Our prosecutors, those could be our judges of tomorrow. And by getting the youth involved and excited about maybe someday working in the court system, what a great benefit that would be for all of us.
Right. We have on the end.
One of the basic definitions of politics is power and motion. It's using power and influence to get resources. In order to use that power and to generate power, you have economic strength. So what a lot of times African American communities are dealing with is a lack of economic strength. And with a lack of economic strength, you're unable to politicize your goals, what you want to realize. So getting the youth involved is teaching them that as they rise and as they educate themselves more, instead of having a community brain drain, if you will, where African American youth that are intelligent and that are taken out of the community and serving visions that have nothing to do with their community, teaching them to come back and to invest their knowledge, invest their schooling, invest their skills to give back to the community and to heighten political engagement. You know, if we don't teach them where the roots are and we don't bring them back to those roots, we can't expect them to want to represent African American communities.
Anyone else on the panel that wanted to answer that?
You know, one of the things that I wanted to do when I first ran was to engage the community, because I am, as I heard over here, that, you know, or Sam had said that, you know, I'm an elected official. I wake every morning up and have 34,000 plus bosses. So it's, you know, I've done everything from the county that has had teach-ins where we go out and speak to the youth and try to get them engaged. We've had youth council, people come and basically shadow us. You know, I've actually contacted several schools and did essays to get kids in, and only turned out 2. So, you know, I would pose a question to the audience, you know, how do I get you to contact so I can get engaged? Being a local representative, since I serve everybody in this room, I'm as close as you're going to get. If you don't contact me, then I think everything's great. You know, that's the reason why we run. Some of us may run for other reasons. I don't know. But I'm here because I was asked, because I care. That's the reason why I ran. But I'm here to serve you. You need to contact me. You need to get in touch with me. I need to hear from you. I need to know what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right. Because if not, then again, I'm going to make those assumptions, and I don't know what goes on in your community. I'm willing to go walk the streets with you, but I need you to be engaged with me so I know what's going on with you.
Good point. Good point. Okay. Anyone else on the panel before I go to the audience?
I'd like to ask, we all know that barriers for our parents and for young people to get there is transportation. We have to eliminate, again, the barriers for the parents in order to get the children to the activities that you're recommending or even the things that you're suggesting. Just an observation.
Can anyone
and let me
speak
just
to
say,
transportation?
Let me just say, children have been at the forefront of everything I do. And when I moved here to Polk County, it didn't stop, you know, being a native New Yorker. And coming to Polk State and seeing what we try to do with our TRIO program, with our Upward Bound program, with some of our other programs, is remove those barriers. But we need to take it a step further. We need officials, elected officials, to help us remove some of those barriers. And just simple steps, just simple things that we can do. I'm sorry, moderator.
Yeah, no problem. Is there anyone that can speak directly to the transportation issue? Okay, why don't we start with...
I would defer to the commissioner because there was an initiative on
Yes, we did have an initiative on the ballot in November, and it failed. It failed big time, over 78%.
What was the initiative specifically?
For half-cent sales tax to go for transit, so that we would have a better bus system in the community. And we put it towards a vote, and it failed. And I don't know why we need transportation so desperately.
Let me ask. Just hold on. How many people, by a show of hands in the room, knew about the initiative that was on the ballot? Not everybody. That's probably not the majority.
And
so,
we had
is it coming up again, or is there anything that can be done about it?
It's been on there twice, and now I don't believe it will come back again for a while. But we had a marketing plan.
Right.
We tried to get it out into the community. Go vote. Vote yes if you want transit in this community.
Let me give just a second. Very quickly, because we have a lot of people that want to speak on it.
I don't think transportation is really a problem. This summer they had something with the city of Lakeland and also Winter Haven where youth could catch the bus for free to jobs, summer programs, etc. When it's time for them to strap up that chin strap and go out to the football games and for football practice, they're there faithfully and religiously. So that once again, we have to continue to encourage education. I'm a product of a program called Upward Bound. I also do after-school programs and enrichment programs, and exposure is everything. But people got to be willing to sacrifice their time, because why I do it, you know, is because I remember living in the projects. It's hot, roaches doing backflips off the countertop, rats nibbling through the walls, etc. So I say, hey, I'm going to sacrifice my time daily to go out and help make a difference for these kids. Everybody's chasing money. Everybody want to make money, but not many people want to make a difference. So that's why I go out every day. I'm at Bill Duncan. People say, you out there with them bad kids? I say, I'm the baddest thing out there.
Okay.
And a lot of times with the kids, they can't be what they don't see. So they they call me Mr. Jeffrey. They say, well, man, you know, how are you doing all this? I got 2 buses. I don't have a team or a church or anything like that. This summer, we were transporting 100 kids every week to FAMU, University of Florida, Bethune-Cookman, whatever that place is called in Daytona. It's hard to say. I'm a rapper.
I get the idea. Right. You're a rapper. We don't know anything beyond FAMU.
Tours, right. All of that stuff is awesome. But we got to sacrifice our time. A lot of people, we want to have the pep rallies, but we're not ready to get in the game.
Okay, understood. Over here, I know.
Well, one of the things I think is very important is if you've heard all the elected officials say, get involved in your local government. We are the government closest to you. The budget process is about to start. And so your involvement in that budget process, in a representative republic, you elect your elected officials to represent your interests. The budget is a spending plan. Unlike the federal government, we have to have a balanced budget. But if you tell your elected officials and you inform them of a need in the community, rest assured that they are going to have those substantive conversations, and somebody in the community needs to be a torchbearer for those things that a community needs. Governments offer two types of services. Services that are mandated by state and federal government, and those that are asked by constituents and by the residents and by the business owners. So your involvement can have such a profound impact. The initiative that the county rolled out, the state legislature passed a law that we cannot go out there and actively market things. We can only tell you the facts of what this impact would be. So our hands are tied, but certainly you folks in the community can have such an important impact and role in what your communities look like. And I'm a firm believer the future leaders of tomorrow are in our organizations, in our communities today. And if we do not cultivate those leadership opportunities for them, when they're called upon to lead, they will no longer be in our communities. We cannot lose these kids to University of Central Florida, and they never come back. So businesses have to create jobs to bring these kids back so we can all grow collectively as a community. But civic involvement and getting involved with your elected officials, finding out, all these commissioners, I can tell you that their cell phone numbers are available, their email address, they'll come out and speak. They want to hear what your concerns are so they can be a better service to you. So get involved in your government.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, the program that we were talking about for the school bus is called the Colts program. It's basically a free ride for the kids. And I agree with what you said as far as the transportation issue, because you coming from New York, me coming from Cincinnati, there wasn't that much of an issue. But if there's a community within Winter Haven, Lawrenceville or whatever, that wants to put something together, this commission will come to you. You don't have to worry about transportation. I spend time down at our rec center and talk to the youth all the time. So if I have to get in my car and come to you, you're my boss, I'm going to come to you. And I think most of the elected officials in most of these cities have that same attitude, because we all participate in the league, so we do get time to speak amongst ourselves, in each individuals in the cities. But if there's something that's got to go on in the community, we will come to you.
Okay. The gentleman on the end here who's been so kind and patient.
The bus issue that we are trying to get an understanding of is not because we didn't want to get on the bus. There are people that can't vote, that do not have a voting right. And those are the people that are riding the bus. Those are the people that's trying to get to the different jobs, trying to get to schools. They can't get on the bus, so they didn't vote for the initiative because they don't have voting rights. We're working on that. Groups that are out of school. The summer programs that Mr. Jeffrey was talking about, we run into an issue that most of the kids that are going to these colleges are the A-B students. We have the C, D, and F students that are struggling to get better, but they don't have a vision of what's better. All they see is what's in their community. If we could get more of the initiatives of those buses that are going to these different schools, okay, there is something else out there besides what's going on right here in my community. That's what our kids want. They want something different. They don't want to be stuck in the same situation all the time here in Polk County. They want a chance to get out. And if we give them an opportunity of a C or D student instead of the A-B student, give them a chance, because they are learning.
Okay. Are these opportunities? Hold on. Sorry. Let me pose a question.
One more thing.
I see.
One more thing. My daughter came from Florida A&M.
Yes.
She was in the nursing program. She came down. It took her 1.5 years to get a job because she went all around. She went to the different hospitals. She went to the different black organizations. She could not get a job. It finally took us going to our doctor to talk to his associates at the hospital for her to be able to get a job. It took her a year and a half. She has a BSN in nursing, and it took her a year and a half to get a job.
Okay. Definitely.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay. I see we have someone in the back.
Representing the Lakeland branch of the NAACP. Mr. Haas, regarding your recruitment assets, and I'm a former founding president of the Virgin Hawkins Bar Association, I just want to let this audience know as it relates to the recruitment, and the State Attorney's Office is the most powerful law enforcement agency we have here in Polk County and in our judicial circuit. Regrettably to say to you, Mr. Haas, we don't have any black prosecutors. I've been on this circuit a long time, being the first black prosecutor since 1975. And it is so dismal that we do not have black prosecutors. Black prosecutors, not black prosecutors, but prosecutors ascend to judgeship. That is the tradition of Polk County. I would beg upon you, Mr. Haas, since you probably will be ascending to the office after Mr. Jerry Hill has announced his retirement. What is you going to do? Are you going to stay in the same adage and protege of not having black prosecutors? We're probably the worst county in all of America that does not have representation in the highest office of law enforcement. Our black kids here in Polk County are sent to prison rather than the schools. We need to address that from law enforcement now very seriously. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was directed at you. Would you like to respond?
That was directed at me. Yes.
Yeah, that seemed very specific.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Glover, I appreciate your question. And actually, we do have, in the past year, we've had 2 African American prosecutors. We currently have 1. That's far too few. And we need more, and there's no doubt about it. But let me share with you an example of the struggles that it's been to hire African American prosecutors. I personally am the guy from the office that goes around to the various law schools. And a couple of years ago, that became my job. And it was very apparent to me that it would benefit our office if there were more African American prosecutors. It's a no-brainer. So when I would go on these recruiting trips, I would be on the lookout for someone that would be interested in coming to work here at our office. And we extended quite a few letters and invitations to come down and job offers. But you know what? They end up going to where they were from, or Orlando, or Tampa, or Tallahassee, or other states. So my comments earlier were we need to find some homegrown prosecutors from the African American community that will realistically want to live in Polk County and start their careers and be the judges of the next generation. So I take your comments very seriously, and it is very important to me that we increase the percentage.
I appreciate that, but even further, we have several of our Virgin Hawkins Bar Association members in here. 5 African American law schools have more lawyers coming out of school than all of the white law schools in the country. Stats a lot of people don't know. I have begged upon your office to go to those 5. We now have 6 with Florida A&M right over there in Orlando. We have the lawyers. You guys just got to hire them. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, we're going to take it back in a different direction. Sir?
My name is James Neal.
Hi, Mr. Neal.
I'm also with the Lakeland NAACP, and I work at the South County Jail as a teacher.
Okay.
Coasting off of what my chief over here was saying about community involvement and making a dialogue with the neighborhood, the people I work with have already had a negative encounter with law enforcement. They've had a negative encounter with education and the discipline that's given out. So right now, about one quarter of the black males in this area have a criminal record. And I have to deal with them. I have to tell them, when you get out of jail, there are certain things that you can and cannot do because you're an ex-felon. Now, the students I deal with are adults. They're at least 18. We're talking about what we can do for the younger students, but there are some older students that need to be addressed too. We need to give them some hope. We need to give them some opportunities because they're getting out of jail. And if we don't give them something to do, they're going to be right back in jail. So, and that's for the younger people. But we've got some middle-aged people that need something to do too. It's not just young people all the time, and I work with young people. But I realize all of us, I used to be a young man one time. I ain't no more. I need something to do too. So, but we have to realize that it's a multi-level thing here.
Okay, so off of that, I have two questions, and then I'm going to go back to the audience. One, for the police chief. What are ways, if the audience or members of the community have suggestions that they'd like to bring to the police officers on ways to interact, how can they do that? Where can they come to bring their suggestions and ideas?
I would love to say the officer driving down the street.
Yeah, but we know that's not.
But yeah, let's be honest. That's not going to happen.
What can they do?
But I can guarantee you that all the administrators and the leadership in Polk County, the police leadership, actively want that kind of input.
So is there an email that you can share with us somewhere, or is there someone specifically that you can say, email this person?
I would say email the chief of police of whatever agency that you're interested in. Go straight to the top.
Okay, great.
And you know, you come to me, I'm going to make something happen. You know, I might put it back down to that officer, and force him to go talk, but go straight to the chief.
And these email addresses are public.
Yes, ma'am.
All this information is public. Just, I'll be right with you. Sorry, I see you jumping in.
And most of our websites are public notice, and they're all over the place for information.
And before I get to the gentleman in the front, I wanted to ask what programs are in place for the older people coming out of jail? Does that make sense? For the 20-year-olds, for those that are no longer young, are there any programs for those that are beyond high school?
The only program that, speaking
Melony.
from the county, from Polk County Commission, we have a diverse program called Community Relations. And we have firefighters. Nobody's talked about firefighters in this room, but we have it's very hard to fill diverse population on firefighters. So we have a program now that we're going into your community. We're trying to find people that's interested in wanting to fight fires and paramedics, and we're taking them and bringing them into a program, and it's a free program. We put them through school. It's 18-month school, and they have a one-on-one tutor.
So are there any programs for ex-felons? Are there any programs for young adults, those that have aged out? Is that included?
That's included.
Okay. So you can be an ex-felon and be a firefighter?
I don't know.
Is that accurate?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's for non-felons. Are there any programs for ex-felons, young, that are aged out of the school system?
Yes, at Polk State College.
Okay, here's one. Okay. Thank you. Because this is, well, Andrew.
One of our faculty members, Dr. Latrice Moore, develop an entrepreneurship program, because those who come out of the criminal justice system, and I would love to come down and talk to them, can be in business for themselves. When there are background check issues, you can learn to open your own business. And quite frankly, it's the way... Well, yeah, but a legal business.
Open your own business, please.
We have students here that are opening their own businesses as motivational speakers for youth. So I would encourage, we are an open access institution, and while we may visit other colleges, and I applaud any post-secondary, but right here in this county, we have an open entry, accessible four-year state college that does have programs like our entrepreneurship program where you can graduate and have a business model and access to people who can help you invest in your own business. So.
Perfect. Very good. Sir in the front, I saw you leaping out your chair.
My name is Robert Doyle.
Judge
I'm a
Doyle.
retired circuit court judge. Where are the white people? I mean, basically, I'm sorry, if you knew anything about me as a judge, you know I say what I think, and that's the problem. I mean, we're talking to people here who already know what's going on, and we need white people here, first of all. Second, I disagree with the chief. If you want to get somebody's attention, don't send them an email. Go knock on their door. That's all.
Okay. That's it. So you're going to have people knocking on your door.
There it is.
All right, I have a question here in the front.
Hi, I'm Carol Bradley. I'm an SRO, school resource officer, a police officer, and I would like to say I'm in the elementary, and I mentor. I just don't go in and be the police officer to take you to jail when you cut up and turn over the desks, because they turn over desks, and they do everything that they shouldn't do. But I go in and I mentor to those kind of kids, elementary, before they get to middle school, hoping to make a difference while they're little, hoping to make a difference before they get to middle school and have all these problems that they're having. So I do a lot of mentorship. I just don't police, but I do a lot of mentorship in the school. And education is very important. And I explain all that. I have little girls coming to me one day, Officer Bradley, I want to be a police officer. So I enjoy my job, and it's all about the children.
Okay.
Amen.
We have a comment here on the end.
Just to say, I'm currently a juvenile counseling officer for the Department of Juvenile Justice in Hillsborough County. What we're talking about here is what's called restorative justice. It's not punishing individuals. Well, part of it is punishing, but not punishing individuals that have broken the law. The law is a concept. We don't break the law. When we do things, we break families, we break lives, we break homes. So part of restorative justice is realizing that it's not just punishment for felons. It's about including them, making them realize what they did to the community, and then including and healing that connection with the community. So if anyone's interested, it's called restorative justice. I know that the DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice website, has a long model on it, and it's something that, elected officials and employed government officials can look into and try to recreate some of those programs in Polk County.
Okay, great. Over here?
Yes. For the question concerning the programs for people that are just getting out of jail or prison, I would just like to add on to what Dr. Holden was saying. I'm a mentor here at Polk State College. I'm also a student, and I'm the vice president of Brother to Brother, which is a mentoring organization, but we tend to look at it as a cause, because our concern is the beginning stages of the relationship we formulate with students and the end stage. We're not just basically concerned with the starting point, but we are concerned with where the student ends up. And I'll say this, I recently started my own company, which is Consolidated Growth Incorporated, which is basically an extension of Brother to Brother. And I work closely with individuals that are making that reentry into society, and it's a tough task. It's a tough task, but I encourage them and I tell them that, hope is not on the way, hope is here. And I want to just encourage everyone, that's here participating tonight. If you know someone that, and that's their struggle, they've gotten in trouble, and I know that everyone knows somebody that this has affected. You can reach me. You can reach me at my Polk State email address, jarnold3@polk.edu. And believe me, and I have cards tonight, believe me, I'll do whatever I can to help whoever needs help.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We have a question here in the audience, and then I'll go to the right.
Yes, my name is Yves Etienne, and hold up. Okay. All right, my name is Yves Etienne, and I'm actually an employee for Polk County School Board. I work at George Jenkins High School in Polk, lab facilitator. And I guess for me, I have a statement and a question.
Okay.
So obviously we have multiple problems, but I always believe that we always have multiple solutions. Education is always one of those solutions within that. If you don't mind, I just want to ask maybe 3 questions?
Sure, just you got to rapid fire them.
Because there were so many things that came up. I guess in terms of law enforcement.
Okay, so this would be
policing
directed
within
to the
the
chief.
community. Yes, sir.
Okay.
What can we do about making sure that we educate our police force about the history? Because, history is a very important part of it. What can we do about educating them about the history, not only within this city, but within this country? Because I believe part of the issue that we have is that overall, people have their own preconceived notions, they have their own beliefs, and many of that stems from what they don't know, and as far as like some of the things that I'm referring to is, well, for one, when it comes time for maybe some of the views that we have in terms of the broken family, within the African American community. Where did that come from? So what can we do about educating the police force?
Let's give him a chance to answer.
We need to do the exact same thing that we're doing right here, but with that as the topic. I mean, it's one thing for the law enforcement side to say this is how we perceive it, but if we don't get together and communicate and have meetings and discussions and be open, we need cultural awareness, not just for the African American community, but you get Hispanic communities or Asian communities that, just eye contact will set somebody off. And, if the law enforcement community that doesn't understand or realize the different cultures, it creates problems right off the bat. And I think a lot of it, we have formalized training that we try to do, but nothing's better than just to sit down one-on-one and talk and learn.
Absolutely. I think the Assistant State Attorney wanted to add something.
Just real quick, I think I go back to my earlier point. We need more African Americans serving in law enforcement. That is a huge, think about it. When you have members who are working together on the force, they share their experiences, they share their history. That's how you get to really know somebody when you're working a case with someone. And then the other thing is for our law enforcement officers to get out of the cars and get into the communities. Go to the places where the athletics, the churches, know the people, get to know the people that they serve. And I think that's a two-pronged approach that could really benefit our community.
Are there any diversity initiatives for hiring happening?
Perfect chance for recruitment.
Yes.
I'll throw it out there. The African American is a commodity.
Yes.
It's wide open, especially a female. Man, I'd get on my knees and beg you to come join law enforcement. It's there. We need you. We need a diverse law enforcement to match a diverse community. I mean, it's got to add up. I guess the second part of it, and it goes with the STEM and all that. I believe there's some bullying issues and peer issues. When someone wants to start learning the STEM or wanting to move up in law enforcement, they get pulled down or they get bullied. And I kind of charge the school administrators, really crack down on the bullying. I mean, if a student's wanting to progress and do good, then we should clear the way for them to excel. And like I said, you got to be 18, but if you're 18 and out there, please, if that's an issue, the money's not there, like the plumber. But please get involved. I mean, in law enforcement.
We actually have one more person that wants to weigh in on your question.
Really quick with respect to law enforcement, one of the things that's under the purview of the city manager is a law enforcement agency. And I can tell you African American candidates are a commodity. We go to graduations, and by the time an African American law enforcement officer accepts their credentials and walks off that stage, Orlando, Tampa, Tallahassee, they scoop them up, and we can't compare, we can't pay what those agencies pay. So one of the things we need to do a better job in is home growing our talent. One of the things that we're looking to roll out as an organization is that we will literally pay you $500 a month as you are going to school to become a law enforcement officer, and then after you're done, you get a guaranteed job. All you have to do is work for us for 2 years. So we are creating those programs to go ahead and have people serve in those capacities. I can just share a personal story with you real quick. My sister is a firefighter. She was recruited here out of Central Florida to go to DeKalb County, Georgia, because they needed female fire officers, and they scooped her up and gave her a deal that she could not refuse. But I think as an organization, we need to look at making sure our workforce represents the diversity of our community. If you don't have a diverse workforce and you don't have, and it doesn't represent your community, you're doing a disservice in your hiring practices. It needs to be consistent, because one of the things that they said is that when you go into a community, people feel comfortable interacting with people that look the same way, and that's the reality of it. So as an organization, we are big on making sure that we have a diverse workforce, and we instituted a program called Shop with a Cop and Firefighter. We get underprivileged youth that we work with the school board, and we take about 100 kids to Big Lots and shop with a police officer and firefighter so they can break down the stereotypical where you only see a cop when it's bad things, or you only see a firefighter when it's bad things. And I'll leave you with this. A firefighter said to me, fire chief said to me, I'm the only guy that can come into your house at 2 o'clock in the morning with an axe, and you're happy to see me. We need to make sure that we have that.
I want to answer. Let me jump in real quick.
Okay, we're going to have to keep it quick, though, because you guys are getting a little long-winded on this.
We have a law enforcement academy right here at Polk State College, and if you're interested in going through our program, I got my card tonight. I can give it to you. You can call me. So if you're interested in going to law enforcement, I have the card tonight.
Thank you. That was great.
One of the questions you asked was, how do the law enforcement go out and understand what goes on in the community with the broken families? What we've done in Winter Haven is we actually have 2 individuals from the NAACP that sit on, the boards when they're hired. From the time that they're hired, they ask them the questions, and they also serve on the promotional boards. So those individuals actually sit on the boards through those processes, and they're there to ask those particular questions during that process.
I guess for me, I was just referring more to something going even further back than that, going all the way back to the early 1900s. It really does go that deep. We're talking about old paint, and that's where we're having problems here. Anytime that law enforcement usually has to intervene in a situation, this is not the first time that they've had, at least that family that they're going to, that individual that they're going to, this is not the first time they dealt with that pain. So I'm referring to that old pain, going back generations deep. So I guess one good place you could start off is there is a book as well as a video that goes along with it, Slavery by Another Name. We can start there.
Okay.
I say that's
Did
a
you
good
have
place
another
to start.
question, or can I move?
did have another question.
Okay.
Going to, I guess, early childhood development. Because the one thing that I'm noticing within the schools is that a lot of our kids are not equipped to handle the STEM programs that we're trying to create. And we need to address that. And one of the ways that we can address that we have not done yet is we need a really good and comprehensive early childhood development program. For me, I'm originally from New York, and when I was up there, we had a pre-K program that was fully paid for by the taxpayers. And we paid more, in taxes up there, but the benefits were there. When I came down here to Florida, they were almost a year behind academically. And, my whole 8th grade and 9th grade year was almost a review as compared to what Florida was.
So what's your question,
and that came from us having a program that started from the age of 3.
Right.
So by the time I got into kindergarten, I could read. We don't have that here. What can we do to get that?
Can the educators on the panel speak to that?
We have a pre-K program.
He's okay.
Very good.
Hold on.
I'm not going to elaborate on it because we do have one. It's an excellent one.
Okay.
The person that
I don't think they can hear you.
The person that runs it is a dynamo, and so we do have that program. We do have pre-K. What we have to do is we've got so many. We need more locations for them, and we need more people to help. But we've got over 600 in our pre-K now. And many of the private schools and many of the private churches have pre-K. So we do have one, and it's a very good one.
Okay, great. Thank you. In the blazer?
Yes, I'm from actually Hillsborough County, and I'm with the Sheriff's Black Advisory Council over in Hillsborough County, but I'm also a member of the NAACP. My purpose for being here is to not only ask questions, but to learn some of the strategies you have in place, because I want to encourage that we work together as neighboring counties because we share some of the same disparities in our community. One of the things that I heard, instead of going backwards, moving forward from that last question about early childhood education, is there any opportunity to recognize new funding streams and go after large block grants that will provide more funding opportunities for more rural areas or areas of the city that may not have transportation or areas of the county that has transportation challenges. And I guess you can look at that question across the board as city officials and county officials. Do you work to go after block funding, and how are you collaborating with the community at the local level to find out new ideas of what's happening outside of this county? Somebody just mentioned about being from New York. Well, people from Polk County, you're losing them over to Hillsborough County. You're right, we're recruiting over there in Hillsborough County. But people in Hillsborough County, they want to move to Atlanta. People in Atlanta, they want to move to New York. People in New York, they want to go out to LA. Everyone thinks that there's something better that's happening somewhere else in another city. So the last part of my question and comment is also culturally, what does the city do to make Polk County attractive? What does the county do to make Polk County attractive culturally, so that the people are here can invite other people to come and move in with new ideas and new contributions?
We have a great Polk Arts Alliance here, and somebody had mentioned earlier about STEAM, science, technology, and adding the arts into it. We have a tourist development tax here in the county, and a lot of people don't realize it's a heads and beds tax, and we collect over $8 million a year. And how do we market Polk County using that $8 million? We moved more into, back in 1987, I hate to get into the history of this, but the citizens of Polk County voted to put this heads and beds tax there. So we started collecting the money. And to market Polk County, they got more into the sports. We've got really focused on, it's got to be about sports, because that is our budget. When you fill a hotel room, you're bringing parents in that's playing soccer, their kids are playing soccer, so you're filling those rooms. But we needed to diversify out. So 2 years ago, my colleagues voted to put more into marketing the arts. How do we make Polk County, to bring in the high-wage, high-skilled jobs, to make it more a want to live, want to play here in Polk County? So we're taking over $400,000 now and putting more into the arts of Polk County. And there's going to be more funding, more grants available. So if you have any type of festivals there that you're going to be bringing tourism across the county line, it doesn't have to be heads and beds, you need to tap into this Tourist Development Council and apply for these grants. You were talking about grants earlier, and to go a step further, yes, as a county commissioner, we're always looking for grants. We're involved with community block grants, and we go to conferences, finding out how we can bring more money back to Polk County.
Okay. You had something you wanted to add?
You asked about the CDGB grant funding. As an elected official, those are huge for local cities, and I'm sure that the gentleman sitting to my right he's more involved in that than I am, because he really deals that on a larger basis. But the funding from the top of the federal level, it filters down to the states and it comes into us. And the federal level has tried to gut the programs that we would reach out to the communities that have less too, so we could reach out to them. And I, for one, have gone to D.C. to try to pledge my best that they don't root the program, because it's very important to the people in these communities that need. So again, it will take not just my effort, but it will take a community effort to make sure that your voice is heard, how important those grants are and what they're being used for, because we have done a study basically down in certain areas, but if that funding is not there, we can't move forward. So they are vital not only to the city, but they're vital to the certain areas of communities that require that money to move forward, because some of the areas that we talk about are blighted, and they continue to become blighted, and that's where we go after these CDGB grants. But if you take that money away from us, how are we going to do the betterment of these things? Because when an area looks good, people feel better about themselves. But when the money's not there, it really gets tough. And I'm sure Mr. Evans will probably touch a little bit better on that.
One of the things that was talked about is, of course, the community development block grants, and that is a funding mechanism by virtue of the federal government that is given to the state, and then the state determines which cities or which entities are able to receive that. And it's for areas that have a certain census tract that they're looking to provide funding for, areas that are slum and blight and etc., to provide a better quality of life. Usually a lot of communities use them for park restorations, roadway projects, beautification projects, etc. But it is so competitive for communities throughout this state, because we have 19 million folks that live in the state of Florida. And so when you're talking about the Miamis of the world or the Orlandos of the world, it's certainly hard for a community of 22,000 in Polk County to be able to compete with an Orlando, because let's face it, a lot of those things are political. They are looking for that big bang for their buck. And so our community has been successful in obtaining some CDBG grant funding. We have a roadway project that we received about $600,000 from the federal government, and the city had to bring in another $600,000 for about $1.2 million for a roadway project. But a lot of that requires the funding to match that. So if some of these organizations in these cities do not have the fiscal resources to be able to match that, then that funding in essence goes away and another community gets it. So as much as our taxpayers want to see lower taxes, but if you want to still provide the same level of service and you want to see value in your community, that there is a cost associated with it.
Okay.
And that's something that you as members of the community need to consider.
All right, thank you, Mr. Evans.
My name is Margot McGill. I'm actually an advisor for the youth in college in NAACP. And the question I want to ask, I've heard everybody say what they can do for the children that are excelling. But I want to know, what are you going to do for the children that are in the ESE programs? Because one thing that I noticed that happens to them is that they are never rewarded when it comes down to when there's an award at the end of the year. We always have an award for, this is extending a reward for someone doing something at the end of the year, and that child is rewarded. But the ESE student sits there in the seat and is never rewarded for anything that he's done, so he never accomplishes anything. So then we have the drug addict or the drug pusher that says, I can reward you because I've got something bigger and better for you to do. Then he goes out and he tries to find a job. But then we at the school board have given him an ESE diploma that he tries to come over to one of the colleges to try to get in, but they knock on the door and say, well, I'm sorry, you can't come to this college because you've got an ESE diploma. We can't allow you to come here because you try to go over to the trade school, and then that child will say, and most of these are African American children, they say, I want to go to the trade school, and they won't allow them to go to the trade school because they don't have a diploma. They have an ESE diploma. Then we ask them, they say, well, I'm going to go to the military. And they say, well, you can't come into the military because you have a ESE diploma. And most of the African American children are now pointed into that area where they have a ESE diploma. And we want to know, what are we going to do about getting these children a regular diploma so they can get a job so that they can be a qualified citizen?
Okay, thank you. It seems her question is about the ESE diploma.
She's an ESE expert.
All right, so we're going to have her answer regarding the diplomas.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Polk County School Board. My name is Lisa Cheatham, and I work at Auburndale High School, and I am an exceptional student education teacher, 15 years of experience. Polk County Schools, first, we have special diplomas, but those are for the very low cognitive students, functioning students. And as of this year, with Senate Bill 850 and other initiatives from the Department of Education, special diplomas has pretty much gone away. So they no longer exist. But yearly, students with disabilities are required to have an individual education plan meeting once a year. And if that plan is not working, then we can come back at the table 3 weeks down the road, a week down the road. So that is a myth that is out there about students that are in this with special diplomas. That part is not true. And they do go to college. Even right here at Polk State College, they have an excellent program. We invite representatives from Polk State College to the schools for students when they're getting ready to transition out. But not only here at Polk State College, throughout all the colleges here in the state of Florida. So I think that it starts with educating our community and what does the program actually has to offer. And so it's like a lot of miscommunication here as it relates to meeting the needs of students with disabilities.
So I think I agree with your statement. Unfortunately, we are running all kinds of over on time. So before we leave, I'd like to give everyone an opportunity to state their contact information, how people can get in touch with each of these individuals. So if there's something a question that you'd like to direct to them, you can follow up on your own. Let's start over here in the end with the Reverend.
Quite simply, I have a couple cards to pass out, mohara@gmail.com. Not very hard to remember. Also, another way to reach me is through Bethel's Christian Academy. It's a private institution, private school that my parents are currently running. We do offer VPK as well as other services, McKay Scholarship, et cetera, et cetera. You can locate them at 863-280-2080.
So
if you're looking for me, you can find me.
Great. So for anyone that came in late, he's a community youth advocate. That's Reverend Frank O'Harrell Jr. The Davenport Police Chief, Larry Holden, how can we get in touch with you?
Phone number is area code 863-419-3307. My email is lholden@mydavenport.org. Contact me if it's about any law enforcement agency. I can get the word out to them. Real quick, I don't want you to make an educated decision about law enforcement. Make an experienced decision. Come out and ride with us. Join one of the citizen programs. See what we do and learn for yourself, and then decide. Build that relationship.
Great, that's wonderful. Mr. Williams, the Polk County School District Educator.
Of course, you can reach me at jeffrey.williams@polk-fl.net. And I'm free, not furry, so it's JEFFREY. And also Risk Club at ymail.com. Also on Facebook, just type in Risk Club. And for anybody that's working with youth, I work with all youth. I don't throw any of them away. So I take the D's, the F's, the whatever, because you got to expose them so they can see better and do better. So also if you have transportation issues, I also have 2 buses. So if you got a youth group, you don't have transportation, you put some gas back in my bus, you good to go. You can ride wherever you need to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor O'Reilly.
I would just like to say that you can call the school system 534-0500. But there's a lot of educators and former educators in this audience right here, and they'll tell you right now the best thing that you could do is go up to a school, get cleared, and mentor a child.
Right.
Mentor a child, because every one of them needs to know that they are loved, they're cared about, and they will go to heights you will not believe.
Okay. Assistant State Attorney Haas.
www.sao10.com. There's plenty of contact options. Also, I'm on the 2nd floor of the courthouse in Bartow, and if anyone would like to drop by for a visit, I'd be happy to speak with anyone about any of these issues we've talked about today. I'm very interested in hearing your input, and I look forward to talking to you. I also have a stack of cards after the meeting if anybody would like one. Thank you.
Okay.
You can get in touch with me through the school district, Deldrick.Leonard@polk-fl.net, or you can also go on Facebook, Deldrick Leonard. Also, I direct the Men of Tomorrow program through Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and you can go to www.mzlfoundation.org, and my contact information is there. And I also volunteer with a very worthwhile organization called COLA, Channel Lakes Achievers. I'm a product of what used to be COLA. It was YMCA Achievers back in the day. And so there I accept in Mu Zeta Lambda's Men of Tomorrow any young man, grade 8 through 12. It doesn't matter. The more the merrier. So you can contact me through there. Or my church, Bethel Missionary Baptist, over Lake Alfred.
Okay. Just call me at my office. I have an open door policy, and I welcome you to come talk to me. I ran for this position because I didn't feel like I had a voice. And, somebody said politics earlier is power. Well, you have power as being a citizen of Polk County. Listening to the forum today is all about communication, and that's what we need to do, is open these doors to communication. And the bottom line is education, and get involved in your schools from the toddlers on up. And another one I'd like to throw out is Reading Pals. I'm involved in Reading Pals. This is my 2nd year. I mentor 6 children, and you know, I'm doing it to bless them, but I am blessed twofold by doing this. So please call me at my office at 534-6000, or just come knock on my door and I'll see you anytime.
Wonderful.
I'd just like to thank Marissa for inviting me to this, and Polk State for holding this, and for you coming down and doing this as well. But when you walk out of here today, it was such a quick, fast event. Let's not forget what we've talked about. This should be the start of something that we have to keep moving forward on. I'm down at the city. I don't live down there, don't work down at the city of Winter Haven, but we have a city clerk there. If you go down there, you can get on the website. All the commissioners' emails and phone numbers are on there. I'll stick around for a few minutes if somebody wants to ask a question. But again, I'm here to serve you. I may not have all the answers, just like when I ran. I can't promise you everything I can't do, but I will promise you I will listen. If you need me to come to you, I will come to you. So when we walk out of here, we need to keep this conversation going. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Evans?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this evening. It's certainly a humbling opportunity. I can tell you from a student with disability that I had a learning disability, and a lot of people didn't think that I would be able to persevere in having the opportunity to graduate from the University of Central Florida with a bachelor's degree in social work and a master's degree in public administration. And I'm about 2 weeks away from getting my second master's degree from St. Leo University. So you can persevere and you can be anything that you want to be. And it just takes hard work and determination. But certainly if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can call City Hall. My direct number is 863-421-3650. My email address is jevans@hainescity.com. And if you haven't registered for classes for the upcoming semester, I'll be teaching here at Polk State College, Public Budgeting and Financing, PAD 4004, in Lake Wales, classes from 6 to 9 p.m. It's an 8-week course, so certainly I would love for you to participate in the class and learn about public budgeting and finance. So again, thank you so much, and I'm glad to be part of the Polk State family. And if anything I can do, whether it's mentoring or being at talking to young folks, please don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you again.
Perfect.
I'll keep it simple. My cell number 863-698-4759. 863-698-4759.
You can reach me at jarnold3@mypolk.edu, and you can find me up under the WLR Breezeway. That's my office.
Okay.
Thank you so much. To our panelists and to our moderator, Mitzi Miller, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and share with us today. What's incumbent upon all of us is that we take an active role in the lives of our children. That's key. That is so important, whether it's mentoring, whether it's reading, whether it's offering a job, whether it's an after-school program, whether it's going to the store, taking them to buy a pair of shoes. It's always important to give back. Give back. Don't do it for a blessing. You will be blessed. Now, I am going to ask the person that always calls me, and we work so well together in the Office of Equity and Diversity, and she's so humble and she's so quiet, Sister Val Baker, Director of the Office of Equity and Diversity, if she would please come forward.
Lucille said everything I was going to say, so I'll be quick. But I have two things that I will need to do. The first is, of course, let me thank the panel as well. You all did a phenomenal job on courageous conversation. Thank you so much. And thank you to the community as well for attending and sharing. We really appreciate your doing that. But at this time, I'd like to ask Mitzi to please come forward. We have a token of appreciation for you, because when you come to Polk State College, you always leave with something that you will keep forever. And when you look at it and you think about it, you will indeed think of Polk State College. So we just recently shared, we're coming to the end of sharing our 50th anniversary. So we're proud of that. So we have our bags and all of that. So you have a lot of goodies inside here. And each time you look at those items, we hope that you will think of us and you will use them. And we have truly enjoyed your coming here to share with us, and we know that you were enjoying the Florida weather. We're a little chilly here, but not as chilly as they are in Chicago. Am I accurate?
You are very accurate.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to quickly say, the panelists, you guys were awesome. Really and truly, these conversations are never easy. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone always has a solution that they think can be a quick fix. So I really applaud everybody sitting up here for doing the work. You get up every day and you do what you can. And coming out to have that conversation will hopefully motivate others to join you in that. So thank you to the panelists.
Thank you. Thank you. And then just a few words that I'd like for you to take with you as you leave forward. Whatever is in your heart right now, whatever it is, whatever you came with, that you arrived with, hang on to that as you move forward. Maybe you feel inspired to mentor a child. Maybe you want to get more involved in your community. Maybe you want to connect to a more meaningful way within your neighborhood. Whatever has inspired you tonight, don't lose it. Just think of 2 words, self-reflect. Just ask yourself, what can I do to make a difference? What have I done to make a difference? Because no matter what you do, how little, how small, it makes a difference. Again, thank you, and I bid you good evening.